Obbos is laying out the huge concerns we'd have if there's a no-deal Brexit. We're very fearful there'll be chaos at the borders, and we want our factories to be able to operate smoothly as possible.
The most serious corporate challenge yet to the idea we can leave the EU without a deal. It raises the question as to whether Brexit might make Britain more economically imbalanced than it already is. We'll ask one keen Brexiteer whether it bothers him that manufacturing might be badly affected. Also tonight, the President tries to change the debate on immigration.
We're gathered today to hear directly from the American victims of illegal immigration.
We'll hear what the man who used to enforce US immigration rules has to say. And looted by the Nazis after the Battle of Arnhem, the Dutch master finally reunited with its original owner.
I thought it a miracle, to be honest. When I wake up now, I think something happened very, very interesting.
The Battle of Arnhem in 1944 continues to exert a powerful grip on the imagination more than 70 years after the event. The doomed bid by Allied paratroops to seize bridges over the Rhine in the German-occupied Netherlands is the subject of the latest bestseller by the military historian Anthony Beevor. But Arnhem, recounted in the classic war film A Bridge Too Far, is still yielding extraordinary stories. Now, the latest concerns the quest to recover a masterpiece from the golden age of Dutch painting, which was looted by the Nazis. The oyster meal by Jacob Octevelt is worth up to £2.5 million. Our culture correspondent Stephen Smith reports from Arnhem.
I mean, everybody thinks of the Nazis as murderers. Of course, they were murderers. But before that, they were thieves.
It's very exciting. We don't get to handle paintings of this level of quality all that often. This is really a great rarity.
I thought it a miracle, to be honest. I would never have thought that this could happen.
To the Dutch and many others, the striking profile of this gunmetal bridge is immediately evocative of one of the greatest events of the last war. The Battle of Arnhem happened 74 years ago this autumn and is barely within living memory. But it continues to throw up dramatic stories of heroism and sacrifice, low cunning and intrigue. The Oyster Meal by Jacob Octevelt is a grand master painting from the golden age of Dutch art. With the kind of skill associated with his contemporary Vermeer, it depicts a seduction, and the picture's own story is one of ill-gotten gains and secrecy. The painting was a great favourite of Hetty's. Now 97, she was the daughter of a doctor in Arnhem who owned an art collection including the oyster meal. In the war, Hetty was a teenager in the Dutch resistance. Was this yours? Did that belong to you or your
This is my husband's one. And right. I am an awful man. I've lost mine, to be honest, but I had one. My memories are that I was fond of the lady in the beautiful red jacket, the blue silk skirt she had on, and the way the young man was serving her, so distinguished. I loved the painting, and the little dog that was jumping at her legs. I loved the painting, and I didn't think about the naughty things and what everybody thinks now about it. You know, I was so young to think that.
And where was it in your house?
It was in the waiting room of my father. My father loved to show it to his patients too, I think. And he liked to show everyone his beautiful collection.
The Germans invaded the Netherlands in 1940. Hetty's father had put his paintings in safekeeping in the vaults of a bank. He ended up having to go into hiding himself, and it was all thanks to the BBC.
He was a doctor, and the doctor has to have everyone, you know. And he had to, he went to the wife of the Artscommandant, you know, the commander of the Germans in Ireland. and she had a sick child, and he went over to her house, and there she had a big map, and you could see how the front was in Russia. And my father knew, thanks to you all, BBC, exactly how the front was. And she said, well, doctor, you see, everything is going well with the German, we'll win the war. I said, oh my dear, no, and you should put that flag there, and this man is alarmed. He explained what happened there. He shouldn't have done that.
He told her the truth about the Eastern Front.
He shouldn't have done that. So, the next day already, they came to fetch him.
In September 1944, the Allies launched Operation Market Garden, a plan to liberate Arnhem by air with paratroops and gliders, and so push on into Germany. A key objective was to take bridges over the Rhine, including those at Nijmegen and Arnhem itself.
We went to the roof to see what was happening, and then we saw the parachutes all in the air. I was so happy. Said, Mommy, we can put the flag out now, we are free.
Endhouse, bottom windows up.
The Battle of Arnhem was turned into a classic war film, A Bridge Too Far, starring Sean Connery. It included the story of a wounded British officer, General Lathbury, who was tended by the Dutch.
Can't you move your legs? No. Must be your spine. Can you help us?
How?
Don't you know a doctor nearby?
We can take him to the hospital.
Lathbury was brought to a house in the woods at Arnhem, a safe house for the Dutch resistance, including the teenaged Hetty.
They brought Lathbury one evening, knock on the door, and I never forget him. He's huge like you, wonderful general, came in. When he almost couldn't walk, he had to lay down in the bed, and my husband and they took care of him. After 1 week, he was much better. Only to never forget the moment when he went away. He went away on a bike. They gave him a raincoat so they couldn't see his uniform. I made a photo when he left, and you see my husband with him then, and then the resistance brought him to the River Rhine.
Lathbury made it home alive, unlike so many of his fallen comrades. The Allies couldn't hold the bridges, and Operation Market Garden was a failure.
The planning of the operation was totally faulty, and as a result, the suffering for the Dutch was simply appalling. I think we've always underestimated that in this country. Not only did the whole of Arnhem become looted and then destroyed as a measure of reprisal against the support of the Dutch for the Allied forces in Operation Market Garden. But then later, the Nazis even cut off the food to the main cities.
And in that looting, the Nazis broke into the bank at Arnhem and helped themselves to the pictures belonging to Hetty's father, including the oyster meal. She wouldn't see it again for more than 70 years.
Wow. Is that one on? Is it on?
I held an old master like this before.
But now here it is again, at an auction room in London, and all in one piece.
It's a shame to damage it now, isn't it?
That's not right, is it? Is that right?
After all it's been through.
At least until we help with the hang.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Well done, George.
We don't get to handle paintings of this level of quality by, for example, artists like Waterveld all that often. This is really a great rarity.
But where had this fine old master been? And how did it pitch up in London so many years after it was lost? Investigators found a man who'd worked in a gallery in Dusseldorf in the 1950s.
He said, but I do remember we did once have 2 Dutch old masters that came to the gallery. It was very early on. And we kind of drew breath and said, and do you remember anything about them? And he said, yes, I do remember them. I remember them very clearly. He said one was a painting by Jacob Ochterveld, and it was a painting of it was oyster meal painting, and it was a very beautiful painting. He said it was a very elegant painting.
We looked for more clues about the history of the Ochterveld. We know it came onto the open market in Switzerland in the 60s and was later bought by a British businessman who knew nothing of its checkered past. He bequeathed his art collection to the Corporation of London, and the oyster meal has hung for 30 years in the Mansion House in the heart of the city without anyone suspecting a thing. Hetty's been to London to be reunited with the picture she knew from her father's waiting room in Arnhem.
Today, we return to its rightful owners, a painting which was loved by a Dutch family but looted by the Nazis in the closing days of the war.
In the end, her grandson helped to track it down over the internet, though the full history of its journey since the war remains a mystery and may never be known.
It gave me a shock, yeah. It's nice to see your father painting there. But I directly saw that the frame was not what it should have, what it was in our home. I thought it a miracle, to be honest. When I wake up now, I think something happened very, very interesting. I would never thought that this could happen. The story is so interesting in a way. And I'm very happy with it, to be honest. I was very happy that we got it back.
Stephen Smith reporting, and if you like the look at that painting, you've got a few million quid to spare. It's being auctioned at Sotheby's in London next month. That's almost all from us, but before we go, this week America